QB Caleb Williams. So far, progress, it's being made, folks. Here's Ben Johnson on Caleb's growth.
I probably just see growth. He is so much more comfortable right now, even yesterday, the walkthrough yesterday, just in terms of moving around. You know, we go from gun to under to the tight ends are moving, the receivers are moving. We're adding a few more every single day. And so I think his process, and I told him this on the player day off, his process is really clean right now. I'm talking about how he's preparing. I'm really pleased with it. He's doing the work behind the scenes that no one else is seeing, and we're starting to see the dividends being paid from it.
Kimberly A. Martin, everybody, joining the party. Great to have you with us. Coming to you. Kim, what does success look like for Caleb in Chicago?
I'm going to say that if Caleb Williams is playing competitive football in December and January, if this is a team that we think can potentially win their division, I'm good with that. Understand, there will be growing pains with a Ben Johnson offense. He's building this offense again from scratch. They're going over the fundamentals. Ben Johnson is obsessive about the details. So in September, early on, I don't think it's going to look pretty, and I need people to have some patience with this offense and with this team, and particularly Caleb. I think what you want to see is a guy who looks competent and confident running this system, knowing where to go with the football. So if you are playing in December and January, games that could decide the division, potentially being a playoff team, I'm good with that.
I agree with you 100%. I don't think you can necessarily win the division. I like what Ben Johnson said, but let's put a little caveat next to this. This is 1 week of training camp. Let's not forget last year against Detroit on Thanksgiving, he didn't know what he was doing in the last couple minutes of the game. They didn't get the field goal off. Yeah. They lost to the Lions, and then the coach got fired. And Caleb Williams did a terrible job running that offense late in the game. Let's not forget that. Until you see him in those situations, and I love Ben Johnson, and he's got all the stability in the world. He was a great quarterback at USC when I was, but I got to see him, games on the line, 80 yards, big spot on the road, to think I'm watching the next Hall of Fame quarterback. I got to see that first. How's that?
Stephen A.
I think success is them competing for the division title. Now, that seems far-fetched with Detroit and Minnesota in the division, and I get that. But we have to remember there was a bevy of injuries that took place with Detroit, obviously, before on the defensive side of the ball before they lost that playoff game to the Commanders. Yes, you're going to get most of those guys back healthy, we hope, right? But you lost both coordinators. Both coordinators became head coaches. So there's a lot of change that's taking place in Detroit. How's that going to affect them? Minnesota. Yeah, we can say what we want about Sam Darnold, but they were 14-2 before that last game of the regular season, and then ultimately getting blitzed by the Rams in the postseason. So there's question marks about them because of what J.J. McCarthy's going to bring to the table. He's a rookie. We don't know. He didn't play a game last year, obviously, because he was hurt his rookie year. So he's essentially a rookie. Then we have to think about Chicago in this regard. People forget, because they went on a 10-game losing streak, fired their coach, seemed to be just in complete disarray. We forget that over the first 6 weeks of the season, they were 4-2. With Caleb Williams as a rookie quarterback, with no protection, en route to getting sacked 68 times last year. He's getting slaughtered. So if you've improved your offensive line, you still got your receivers in place, your running back in place, a quarterback with a more brilliant offensive mind in Ben Johnson. He'll never be confused with Eberflus, I can tell you that much, okay? The bottom line is that there's reason to hope that come December, the Chicago Bears will be relevant and in the mix in challenging for the division crown. That's all I'm saying. I don't expect them to win, but I'm talking about come December, you're in the mix and challenging for there. You don't completely disappear.
Is that really a fair expectation for the Bears to be challenging for the division title?
You don't want them to be out of the division title in October.
I agree. Right.
So, to Stephen's point, they started off the season strong last year. You know why they lost? You know why the season sort of creamed? The Jayden Daniels game, that Hail Mary, that's when everything seemed to sort of, the Commanders went up and the Bears went down. And I think we kind of have to have patience with Caleb, not comparing him to, well, we're seeing Jayden Daniels having all this success. It's not about anybody else, but what the Bears are building, a franchise that has not shown it can develop a quarterback properly yet. Hopefully, this is the guy.
Well, the thing that would disturb me a little bit
It would
if
have
I
been
was a Bear fan, you don't hear Washington talking about, well, this is what Jayden Daniels has to do. The growth, look how he's doing under center, the shotgun. They know they got a big quarterback. Bears don't know that yet. So it's almost like Ben Johnson's giving the media a pep talk and trying to pep Caleb Williams up every time he talks in training camp. This is
Well,
the
he's
second time
also
he's done it.
being asked those questions because of that, where they're not asking those questions with Jayden
Because they know
they
Daniel-
have a franchise guy.
And they don't know that in Chicago. They don't
Of
know that in
course not.
Chicago.
But
That's
you
the
think
point.
that's up for debate? Everyone.
Yes, I think it's up for debate.
I think
About greatness.
Chicago, by virtue of picking him, they felt he was a franchise guy. I think Chicago may have had the wrong head coach in place. Clearly, that's at least what they thought. And firing Matt Eberflus halfway through the season, and then get Thomas Brown in there as the interim OC to head coach. I think they feel like they have the guy, but the coaching staff has been the issue. Now they got to start from zero. That's why I'm preaching the patience, because they have undermined his development, but also Caleb has to be better with the fundamentals.
Yeah, they got the guy.
Well, Doggy, let me
Sorry, Steve.
let me say this, Doggy. Listen, I think they know they got the guy. I mean, he's got an NFL body. He's strong. He clearly can take punishment. With a suspect offensive line that had him on suicide watch, the dude still threw for 3,500 plus yards, 20 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions as a rookie without being protected. I think that now that you got Ben Johnson in there's a lot of reason to look at this dude and to say, excuse me, he can get it done. I don't think they question whether or not he can ball and he can get it done. I think that Jayden Daniels is the bar. And now they're saying that was the number 2 overall pick. Can you match what we saw that brother in Washington do last year? That's the question mark. But ain't no question that Caleb Williams can ball and that he's the best quarterback they've had in ages. Ain't no question about that.
That's a little
Mad Dog's not sold. We're going to learn a lot this season, all right? That's fair to say. We saw what he did with Detroit.
Wow. All right. What I'm watching in Cleveland, I look at them and I think, could we be looking at a team that may actually have their best quarterback ride the bench most of the season? And when I look at Jimmy Haslam, putting it all on Andrew Berry, I think back to all the time I spent in Cleveland the minute they traded for Deshaun Watson, where the Cleveland Browns were out of it. Until Jimmy Haslam was like, go get me that guy. And that's what Andrew did. Unprecedented deal, unprecedented guarantees. Do you think Deshaun Watson was the pick for everybody in the organization? Somebody said, that is who I want. When you have quarterbacks, it needs to be, they try to make it seem with Deshaun like we are all on board. This is our guy. Right now, why is it with Shador? I understand he's a 5th round pick, but why are we not saying every quarterback that we have on this field, we want to see, we believe in all of them, we want to see it. I just wonder with this organization, they've been looking for an answer and they have not found one, and I just hate that now we're putting it on Andrew. What is that about? What is that about?
Okay, all right, look, first of all, the talent was better than a 5th round, okay? So anybody who says otherwise, you don't really watch football, all right? The talent was better in the 5th round, and we know there were other circumstances as to why he slid to the 5th round. This is the thing for me. He says, when I left on Friday night, if someone would have said to me, you guys are going to pick Shador Sanders, he would have said, that's not happening. And you saw in his face, he's like, I don't think that's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, he says, we met about it again on Saturday, and we had who are the right people in the room? What does that mean? Who are the right people? You mean there's a lot of ambiguity right there, which leads me to believe this. They ain't all on the same page with this pick. And when you're not all on the same page with this pick, I've been in enough personnel meetings to know this. Personal biases come into things when you go through the roster and you evaluate every single guy, and everyone has a chance to talk about that guy. Everyone